Hi, dear friends. Hope you all are
Hi.
fine and having a great weekend. Today, we have with us a Delhi based senior journalist and a well known author, Mr. Bhaskar Roy. It's pleasure for Setu to host Mr. Bhaskar Roy for the 25th episode of the limited video series of literary and critical conversations. Welcome,
Thanks for having
Bhaskar.
me. Thank you.
Here's his brief bio of our guest. After doing his master's in English literature at Calcutta University and a certificate course in French at the Alliance Francaise, he joined journalism. He has worked for three major publications: India Today, Indian Express, and the Times of India in Delhi for 25 years, headed Palimpsest Publishers as its CEO for 10 years, edited India's only themed literary magazine for nonconformist writing, The Equator Line, until the pandemic disrupted the world in 2020. He has authored three books: The Defeat or Distant Drumbeats, An Escape into Silence, and 50-Year Road. He contributed an essay to the anthology India, a National Culture, and also published several papers in the prestigious IIC Quarterly, the quarterly journal of the India International Center. His next book, Border Crossers, is being published by Hachette soon this year. He lives in New Delhi with his wife, Dr. Manimala Roy. With this, I again welcome Mr. Bhaskar Roy on this show.
Thank you.
To take the program ahead, he will now read to us an excerpt from his book, 50-Year Road.
Well, thank you, Sangeeta. This is my just published book,
Hold it
50
a
Year
bit
Old.
higher. Yeah, that's it.
I I love the cover of the book.
Mhm. It's lovely
Thank you. So,
and quite a thick one.
of course, around about 300 pages.
Mhm.
I read a brief paragraph, but it's
Sure,
interesting.
sure.
On one of my last election tours, I
Mhm.
sent an account of how candidates of different political parties sought the support of bandits in a distressed part of Madhya Pradesh. The outlaws who ruled the badlands along the Chambal ravines, heading armed gangs, were often local legends,
Mm.
since their targets were mostly the upper caste rich and feudal lords. They had a cult following among the marginalized low castes. If a fabled, feared bandit boss took a stand in favor of a candidate, that might impact the election outcome. In some remote areas, in fact, posters would appear announcing the endorsement of a candidate by a dacoit gang leader. Some of the rings in those days were headed by women outlaws.
Mm.
At the receiving end of an exploitative system, they were perhaps inspired by the legend of Fulan Devi. The
Mm.
police were in pursuit of Sima Parihar, another bandit queen. Years later, another sensational woman bandit, grabbed the headlines. Sadhna Patel, originally from UP, Sadhna at one point carried a reward of rupees 10,000 on her head.
Mhm.
With the help of a local, I started trekking uphill to a forbidding temple in the middle of the wilderness. When I finally reached the rugged hilltop, panting, the
Mhm.
priest refused to talk, eyeing me with suspicion. The scrawny man perhaps took me for a police informer or something. However, he warmed up after the local reassured him that I was a visiting journalist from Delhi. In the dead of night, on special days, the brigands do reach the top of the hill to propitiate the deity, seeking blessings for the success of a campaign. He told me, did they ever threaten or harm him? How can they? The scraggy man of indefinite age chuckled, running his fingers through his flowing white beard. I am their only road to God. I walked down the rocky terrain through long, unruly grass and thick, prickly shrubs. The unforgiving landscape was really intimidating. A little distance away, the Chambal River flowed by. It was a strange feeling,
Mhm.
being caught between God and the bandits with the river as a witness.
That's very well researched, serious stuff.
Thank you. I was there, during one election tour of Madhya Pradesh. I was in the Gwalior region,
I see.
so went there for a special story.
Mhm. Friends, hope you have enjoyed the distinct flavor of the writings of Mr. Bhaskar Roy. Sir, please share with us your early influences, childhood, and youth in the happening Kolkata.
Well, I grew up in a suburb of Calcutta.
Mhm.
That place, Ashoknagar, was built on an RAF airbase
Mhm.
discarded after the Second World War
Mhm.
to accommodate the refugees from East Pakistan after partition, my grandparents among them.
Mhm.
My mother and father, both in government service,
Okay.
joined my grandparents
Mm.
much later.
Mhm.
Politically, my father was left. The first book I picked up from his library
Mm.
was The Last Days of Sevastopol.
Mhm.
It's a port city in Crimea. So far as I remember.
Mhm.
But I have forgotten the name of the author.
Okay.
Long time back, I
Mm.
was in school.
Mm.
Then I slowly moved into the world of the great Russian masters,
Mm.
Tolstoy,
Mhm.
Dostoevsky,
Mhm.
Chekhov. I read the Bengali classics also, Tagore's Rajarshi.
Mhm.
Rajarshi in English should be Sage King,
Okay.
and Vibhuti Bhushan's Pather Pachali. If you
Ah, yeah. Pathar
recall,
Panchali.
the Opu trilogy of Satyajit Ray that celebrated three movies
Mhm.
are based on this novel.
I
So
have
they,
watched also Pathar Panchali.
Okay, Song of the Road.
Mhm.
That's the English translation.
Mhm.
So those books deeply impressed me. And it was the time of political instability, turmoil, street fighting, when the Naxalite movement gained momentum, the blood trail got longer and thicker. That was growing up in 70s Calcutta.
Mhm. Those were sad
Terrible,
times.
terrible
Yeah.
times, tough times. Yes.
You were in print journalism for 25 years, working in various capacities with three important news outlets of India. So, what prompted you to take journalism as a career?
Well, an interesting question.
Mhm.
Journalism chose me, not the other way around. I am not speaking in conundrums. Honestly, in my freshman year in college, I wrote a middle. You remember on the edit page between two big articles, there would be a middle.
Yeah.
So I wrote a middle and sent it to a newspaper.
Mhm.
A few days later, one professor gave me the paper. Are you trying to be smart? He laughed.
Oh.
And after a month or so, a check for 40 rupees came. Well, 40 rupees in 1977, 78, a lot of money.
Hmm.
And that check determined my destiny.
Hmm.
I kept writing, and after my master's degree,
Hmm.
joined a news agency as a trainee journalist.
Hmm.
A year later, I came over to Delhi, India Today, Indian Express,
Yeah.
the Times of India, a long stretch of 25 years.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what were the challenges and joys of covering the PMO for the media houses, the highs and lows in a country undergoing rapid socioeconomic changes in the pre and post 1990s?
Well, the PMO gets influenced
Hmm.
by the tone and temperament of the top boss. There was an unmatched refinement
Hmm.
about Rajiv Gandhi's PMO. The men and women around him
Hmm.
were excellent professionals on a par with the world.
Mhm.
Say, a statement from Rajiv's office, the language, would be as good as one from 10 Downing Street.
Mhm.
Then came VP Singh. He did not last more than a year.
Yeah.
He was completely obsessed with guarding his
Mhm.
honest man image.
Mhm.
So while picking up the officers, his priority was not the efficiency of those men,
Mhm.
but their integrity.
Oh.
They must be honest people, like the boss.
Mhm.
P.V. Narasimha Rao was neither honest
Mhm.
nor a straightforward man.
Hmm.
The economic reforms for which we give him credit were a compulsion after the collapse of the Soviet Union. the only rupee trade zone for
Mm,
us. In fact, towards the end of his tenure,
mm,
he worked to undermine his own party, Congress.
mm,
If you remember
mm,
Chidambaram,
mhm,
Madhavrao Sindhya, they
mhm,
all had to, even G.K. Mupanar, they all had to leave the party.
mm, mhm,
After he stepped down,
mm.
Rao gave me an exclusive interview,
I see.
his first
Mm,
as former Prime Minister.
I see.
Look, I believe in destiny.
Mm,
I cannot change
mm,
what has to happen. He was on record.
mhm,
So, as Prime Minister,
mm,
he was a complete disaster.
mm,
Both Bajpayee and Manmohan Singh were highly capable prime ministers.
mm,
They knew they had to work within certain limitations.
mhm,
I knew both of them well. I traveled with them,
mhm,
and very often I broke a story
mm,
about their decision making. Just before the 2009 general election,
mhm.
Manmohan Singh gave me an exclusive interview.
I see.
I had to fly down to Guwahati for that interview because
Mhm,
in Delhi he was very busy.
I see. Mhm,
If I get re-elected as prime minister,
mm,
I will put the economy back on the rails, he said. You would recall that was the time of global recession
mm,
triggered by the bursting of the housing bubble in the States.
mhm.
So these two really achieved a lot.
Yeah.
Say, Bajpayee's Golden Quadrilateral project to connect the entire country with four expressways was
Mhm,
fantastic.
yeah. So, do you see any changes now in the coverage of news in print and TV journalism? How authentic do you feel is the coverage these days?
Well, I appreciate your question.
Mm,
Let me put it this way. Around 2009-10, because of rapid breakthroughs in communication technology,
mm,
print lost its primacy.
mm,
People were no longer waiting for the morning paper to look at the
mhm.
headlines.
Yeah.
News was on your phone.
Mm.
So, this fast changing technology was one of the major reasons for the decline of the press. Now, coming to television,
Mm,
the most of the television channels
mhm.
have lost their credibility.
Yeah.
No one takes them seriously. Now, historically,
Mm,
technology, new technology, challenges the old empires, break monoliths.
mm,
Now, AI is coming
Mm,
to blow the big television networks to bits,
mm,
to make it possible
mm,
to broadcast more powerfully and spectacularly at minimal cost. It
mm.
has started happening. You know, the countdown has begun for that brave new era when every neighborhood can have its own television channel. This is going to happen.
That's only what is remaining now.
Technology, it's technology.
Mm,
There was a time when Doordarshan was the only channel and it was under government control. And now there are some 300 TV channels around the country.
mm. But would you like to comment on the authenticity of the coverage these days?
That's what I am saying, that they have lost their credibility.
Mhm,
No one takes these television networks seriously.
mhm.
They know, I mean, most of them, I cannot say that for all of them, but
Yeah.
the major ones.
Mhm.
And mm, but this is not the end of the story.
So we won't go deeper into it, you mean to say?
Well, everybody knows what is happening.
Ah, that's true.
That television news is not news.
Absolutely.
That's very unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Well, what was your experience as the CEO of a publication house now defunct due to unavoidable circumstances and COVID-19?
Well, as the first CEO of a new publishing company, I wanted to do things differently.
Hmm.
I knew if I had to sell my books, I would have to try something different, something new.
Hmm.
So, you know, it was a time when you were selling books in the age of plasma TV,
Hmm.
you know, smartphones, the new kind of sophistication in the visual media. So I resorted to photography. I said no illustration for book covers
Hmm.
because the cover is the face of the book. So photography, I very often hired professional models.
Okay.
And if you look at the cover of our first book, Freedom's Mother,
Hmm.
it was a huge success.
Hmm.
A movie star posed for the camera.
Hmm.
So these were the things that I tried to do. That unless you are doing something different
Hmm.
as a new player, you have no space. I believed in that
Hmm.
and I moved ahead. But the pandemic badly bruised the publishing company
Hmm.
and also the Equator Line.
Hmm.
That was India's only themed literary magazine,
Okay.
which believed in nonconformist writing.
Mm-hmm.
The equator line, it was popularly called TEL.
Mm-hmm.
Many people said the Granta of India.
Mm-hmm.
Never put a politician on its cover, Gandhi and Nehru being the only exceptions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then you have your novel 50-Year Road. You would you like to let us know the highlights of this novel? 50-Year Road, described as a narrative history, a memoir of the Republic's 50 years from the vantage point of a senior journalist as a witness to some momentous developments.
Well, let me tell you the story behind the story of the book.
Mhm.
Yeah, it happens, behind every story there is another story. In the summer of 2020,
Mhm.
homebound
Mhm.
because of lockdown and distressed
Mhm.
because of the uncertainty, I started looking back.
Mhm.
So the earliest that I could recall distinctly was the political turmoil, acute scarcity,
Mhm.
the Naxalite insurgency, that 1965 war with Pakistan. I mean,
Mhm.
I was a kid, but I had a sharp memory of all that. I could recall. So from that point onward, 50 years, that is
Mhm.
until 2014, that
Okay.
just before the general election in
Mhm.
which Narendra Modi came. So,
In power, yeah.
so if you look at these 2 points, it's 50 years, 5 decades from 1965 to 2014. Now, 50-year road is basically it's my memoir. So it's my story, but the way I have written it,
Mhm.
my story is not a stand-alone account.
Mhm.
It is part of the Indian journey.
Mhm.
The reason is, as a journalist, I see myself as part of civil society.
Mhm.
I am not a hero.
Mhm.
I am not a star. I am not a celebrity. I am only a part of civil society. So I recollected my own life in the context of my social milieu. And it the book gives you,
Mhm.
you know, an account of a series of upheavals our republic hobbled through
Mhm.
from the mid 60s onward. So that's the gist of the book.
Yeah. That's a serious historical document, kind of
Thank
important
you.
documentation of the epic events of India. And of course, it has drawn attention to and favorable reviews.
Thank you. The book is doing well at the World Book Fair in New Delhi recently.
Mhm.
There was a huge rush for that book.
It deserves laurels, the kind of work it is. Surely, I think sooner or later you are going to be awarded for that.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
I wish so, because it's such a good work you have done, monumental. And you have made good use of the time, the lockdown. Such good use. I was so impressed when I read that about you.
It took me 3 years to write the book,
Mm-hmm.
from 2020 to early 2023.
Uh-huh.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, please tell us about your upcoming book, Crossing Borders, I think.
Border crosses.
Yeah, book.
Yes. Um, its border crosses is
Border Crosses.
disquieting novel in the migration literature genre. I tried to
Mm.
present the new affluence of a market reformed India. These swanky shopping malls,
Mm.
premium cars replacing the old stodgy ambassador, the glass and steel high rises. From the prism of migrant workers.
Mm.
Now,
Okay.
interestingly,
Mhm.
there is an invisible line that divides the migrant community.
Mhm.
Any sociologist will tell you that there is one group that tries and assimilates in host society. Quickly, they become part of the place they have come to work.
Mm. Mm.
But there is another section,
Huh.
the stubborn lot, which refuses. They remain alien to the city
Mm.
where they work to earn their livelihood. So in the evening ghetto, they go back to their villages,
Mm.
to their river ghats.
Mm.
So there is a kind of duality.
Mm.
They actually cannot go back to their villages
Mm.
and leave the city, nor can they completely forget their roots. So that creates tension within the migrant community, which often results in a tragedy.
Mm.
That's what happens in this book.
I see.
Being brought out by Hachette
Gotcha.
later this year,
Mhm.
Border Crossers is perceived as a major publishing event of 2024.
Mhm. Great. Very good theme. And I'm sure that too will win laurels. Our good wishes for the success of this book too.
Thank you so much.
Well, your books are
Thanks
published.
for your kind words.
Mhm. No, you deserve all of that.
But I did real research. I traveled. I you know Walking into a slum is not easy, where
That's an
men start drinking
Mhm.
at 10 in the morning.
Mhm.
It's not easy. But I went into those slums.
Mhm.
I spent time with those people. I interviewed them, case studies. and all that. So it's a tale of two cities. Here you have these multi-storied buildings
Yeah.
where the city rich live. They there are connections with the world. You know, people coming and going between Europe and India, between North America and India,
Hmm.
and those uprooted migrant workers. So,
So
I
common
think-
a sight in India, one
yes,
side high
yes,
rises, another
yes,
side the slums.
yes, that
Yeah.
someone coming out of a mall with those bags packed with goodies, and there is that rickshawala, waiting
Yeah.
for a passenger.
So that's the sad reality of India still,
That's the Indian
and
reality.
the rising consumerism that you have
Yes,
tried
yes,
to
the
portray.
disparity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your books are published by renowned publishers like Jayco, and soon Hatchet is going to publish. So, why is finding a good publisher for a novel in Indian English becoming difficult these days?
Well, I think the trade book market
Mm.
is now agent driven.
Mhm.
There are literary agents now active in India also.
Yeah.
Earlier, you heard about agents in New York, in London,
Mm.
in Toronto, but in the Indian cities, there are agents active, and some publishers say that, well, we don't receive directly from the authors. You have to come through an agent.
Yes. Mm.
So instead of waiting indefinitely for a publisher,
Mhm.
it makes sense for a new writer to publish it online. And once your work starts making news,
Mm.
it does well, then publishers also take note of that. They show interest. That has happened many times.
So, self-publication, you mean to say?
Not self-publication, you are publishing it, say, on Kindle,
Ah.
online.
Mhm.
Uh, you are not going to a printing press.
Mhm.
You are publishing it online. And then you flag it and see what happens.
So, while talking about the novels, may I ask you about your favorite novelists? Who were they?
Well, that's a long list, but I can tell you, I think it's true about everybody that your literary taste changes with the times.
Hmm.
As an undergraduate,
Hmm.
I was fascinated by the continental writers, Albert Camus,
Cameron.
Franz Kafka,
Mhm.
Thomas Mann. I still remember Magic Mountain, that 800-page break.
Hmm.
Alberto Moravia, many of them.
These
These
are
two
some
books,
very formidable names.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Outsider and The Plague, two masterpieces by Camus, uh, fascinated me.
Mhm.
And then I switched over to the British novelists.
Mm.
I found Alan Silito very
Mm.
angry,
Mhm.
anarchic. I was charmed by um, the author of A Passage to India,
Mhm.
and Graham Greene
Mhm.
gives you a taste of what greatness is.
Mm.
Among the younger writers, Paul Pickering has shades of green. Like his guru, he is also subversive. He is also defiant.
Mm.
I also adore Ian McEwan
Mm.
and Kazuo Ishiguro, that he won the Nobel Prize for different reasons.
Mhm.
And among the Indian writers, my favorites are V.S. Naipaul, Salman Rushdie,
Mm.
Amitabh Ghosh. Well, I forgot to mention that the great two who greatly influenced me at one point. Uh, Marquez,
Ah.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, that
Mm.
Latin American writer,
Mm.
and J.M. Coetzee.
Mhm. Mhm.
He is originally from South Africa, but he lives in Sydney now. He teaches there.
Wonderful. That's a long list.
Long list.
Very
I
impressive.
have left out
Definitely.
many, many more. Yeah.
So, is there some message to our viewers?
Well, Sangeeta, message is a difficult thing, but I would say from my experience that whatever you choose to do, you want to be a painter, you want to be a writer,
Mm.
you want to be a social activist, whatever you
Mhm.
do that with full commitment. Once you take your decision,
Mm.
there is no going back. You do something, and after 3 years, 4 years, you think that, oh, that was a mistake. That's not my line. Let me try something else.
Mhm.
No, that won't do. Do it with your full commitment and give your 100% to that,
Mhm.
and do everything necessary, like background research, like
Very important.
reading,
Yeah.
field work. Otherwise, success is difficult.
True. Very true. I agree with each and every word. It's quite a befitting message. So thanks for being with us, Bhaskar. It was pleasure hosting you. Best wishes for your future projects. Thanks, viewers. In the
Thank you.
next episode, yeah,
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session with you. Thank you.
in the next episode, we will present to you yet another sparkling conversation with another eminent guest. Till then, bye bye. Bye, Bhaskar.
Bye.